Hey everybody, Jess here with a couple of notes up top. One, during the course of the episode, I do use the phrase a few times, quote, undue burden, and I do know that that specific phrase has a technical and or legal definition. I really meant to say burden in the form of an unexpected taxable gift that an employer might give to an employee, thus saddling them with a financial burden that they might not be equipped to handle. Please imagine that I'm simply saying burden, not undue burden, and forgive me for not going back to find and clip it out of the episode, as I am a one-person show at the moment. And second, you can see from the title of the episode that the topic we're talking about today is Employee Appreciation Day, which is coming up very shortly. Employee appreciation celebrations, whatever form your company might decide to take when marking the occasion, this should come after your company is paying all of its taxes, providing good benefits, paying fair, equitable, thriving wages, not just living wages. They should be paying thriving wages to their employees and generally running an ethical business inside and out. These tips are not for companies like Sephora, who earned $10 billion and rewarded their employees with custom printed sugar cookies, bragging about their banner year. These tips are not for Amazon, who penalize their employees for taking bathroom breaks and pays less in corporate taxes percentage-wise than I do every year. So with all of that fun, light, enjoyable stuff out of the way, let's start the show. Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of Ask an Assistant. I'm your host, Jess Lindgren, and thanks for bearing with me through my technical difficulties yesterday. I ran some really gigantic updates to the OS, and GarageBand had an update as well. And after resetting the computer, running all those updates, everything seems to be good. Had kind of a chaotic day at work, so I didn't quite hit my time goal of releasing the episode by noon Eastern, but late hopefully is better than never. And this definitely has motivated me to get a little bit ahead on recording and get a few episodes in the can so that when I run into gigantic OS updates that need to happen, it doesn't throw my production schedule off the rails. So again, thank you so much for bearing with me. Let's jump into today's show. So today, I got a really great question from listener Maria, who wrote in via askanassistant.com, where I would encourage any and or all of you listening to stop by and submit your own question. Maria says, "Dear Jess, I have been put on a committee at my company, not going to say the company name, but I have been put on a committee at my place of business to plan Employee Appreciation Day, which is coming up on March 1st, 2024. Have you even heard of this day? It is totally new to me, and I'm grasping at straws with only 2 weeks to go. Do you have any pointers for marking the occasion and making our team feel special? My company is medium-sized with about 65 employees on site and another 15 to 20 who are remote and hybrid." So first off, Maria, thank you so much for writing in. I really appreciate it. And to answer your question, yes, I have heard of Employee Appreciation Day. A friend of mine, Jill, used to work in HR, and she told me about this probably at least 10 years ago at this point. And I kind of had the same reaction at the time. You know, I was just like, I've never heard of this. What is this about? Is this even a real thing? And I did a little bit of research into Employee Appreciation Day as a holiday, if you will. And the Wikipedia entry says that it was created by Dr. Bob Nelson, who was a founding member of Recognition Professionals International in 1995, initially created to celebrate the publication of his book, 1001 Ways to Reward Employees. I think that's really cool. And there aren't a lot of office employee, company employee appreciation days or initiatives. And I think that a lot of companies could really benefit from implementing something like an Employee Appreciation Day into their annual calendar. You know, there are definitely certain days, specific days, like departmental days like Boss's Day, which whatever, we'll talk about later why I don't love the term boss. But, Boss's Day, Administrative Professionals Day, I think it used to be called Secretary's Day, potentially. Those are the two that really come to mind. I don't really know of like celebrate your accountant day or, give the sales team a high five day, anything like that. So those are kind of the two office-y appreciation days that come to mind. And I love the idea of either some intercompany department specific, because every company is different. Every company has different departments, different numbers of people in those departments. Some companies might have an accounting department of 6. Some people might have an accounting department of 1. Some people might have an accounting department of 100. You just never know. So just kind of depending on the size and scope of your organization, I think some department specific days could be really beneficial. But back to the topic at hand, Employee Appreciation Day as a blanket thing. This is something that I did implement at my previous place of business. So this would have been 2010-ish, 2010, 2011, somewhere in there. I'd have to look at the exact date, but I did do it for, I think, 3 years during my tenure there. And it was something that management was a little skeptical about at first, but then the longer that it went on, the more that they really saw the value in Employee Appreciation Day as a thing, which is typically celebrated or marked the first Friday of March every year. And then we did implement some further like quarterly employee appreciation / engagement activities throughout the year. The first thing that I want to say as you decide when, if you're going to mark it on the day, that's Friday, March 1st of this year. But then if you're going to decide how to mark the day, the first thing that I want to tell you is to talk to your financial professional, whoever that might be. If you're a small company, like I work in a small company of 2, and I have a small company of 1 myself that I run to, be the backbone of the Ask an Assistant podcast and all of my other personal endeavors. But even my full-time job with my executive, it's just me and my executive and a handful of contractors. So you might have a small, very, very small team. And you might have a very, very large team. You might have hundreds or even thousands of employees in your organization. So make sure whoever makes the decisions about budget for things like this is involved. There's something called de minimis fringe benefits, and I think the IRS limits that to $25 per gift per person. So definitely touch in. You don't necessarily want to be giving everybody like iPads or fully funded vacation. I mean, maybe you do. I would love to discuss that. If that's a benefit that you're giving out for Employee Appreciation Day, hit me up. But, you definitely want to touch base and make sure that you are setting a realistic budget, that you're not potentially getting your employees into an awkward situation where maybe the value of, let's say, an iPad, you buy the super expensive top of the line version and that comes in at like $2,000 per person. They get taxed on that, even though it was a gift from the company. There's a portion of that the company can write off, and a big portion of that then can get passed on to your employees. Kind of like if you ever watch The Price is Right, contestants are always given the option to take the cash value of something, and they'll give you the cash value after taxes. So like, when they say a brand new car, you can walk away from California in Studio City with the brand new car and the tickets for the vacation and all that, but then you are on the hook. So let's say that you got $25,000 worth of prizes. You're on the hook for $25,000 worth of taxes, however that shakes out. So if you took the cash option, you'd get 25,000 minus the taxes. But that's a little bit of a tangent. Bringing it back to topic, talk to your professional, your financial professional, whoever's going to set the budget. Make sure that you're keeping everything within the rules, that you're being fair. You definitely don't want something where a certain person gets like a nicer or better benefit on Employee Appreciation Day. You want it to be something that's fair, equitable, and hopefully, preferably, the same or at least a similar value gift or perk per person. So after you've talked to your accounting person, your financial professional, whoever that might be. Some of the things that I've done in the past that have gone over really well are meals or treats. That can get a little tricky, and something I definitely want to talk about later is how to handle dietary restrictions. I personally am a person who is lactose intolerant, bordering on dairy allergy. Not really sure which one it was. It's not worth it to figure it out. But, within your organization, even if it's a small to medium-sized organization, like Maria, of about 100 people total, you can have anything from celiac disease. You can have any number of peanut allergies, wheat allergies, I think that's celiac, dairy intolerances. You can have personal preferences. You can have allergies to things. I'm allergic to black pepper. Like, black pepper's in everything. You just don't know what people are dealing with in terms of preferences, allergies, and potentially you get into even some personally held beliefs in terms of what you do and don't eat. So definitely want to make sure that if you are choosing something like a meal or any kind of treat for the office, that you are being sensitive and making sure everybody feels included. That's something that over the years, anytime that a company is like, ooh, pizza day, and I'm like, oh, great, I can like watch you all while you eat pizza. I can't have cheese, so if you get pizza and cheese sticks and I don't know what goes with that, chocolate chip cookies, I can't have any of that. So then if I'm the person planning the event, or even if I'm not the person planning the event or placing the catering order, I show up to the break room or the lunchroom and everything there is something that I can't eat. Even something like if you order a salad, like a Caesar salad, there's Parmesan cheese and black pepper in the dressing. There's Parmesan cheese on top of the salad. If somebody was vegan, there's anchovies in the dressing, potentially anchovies in, like if it's fancy enough, there might even be anchovies on top of the salad. So just making sure that as you choose anything edible, that you are being sensitive and inclusive to people's needs and preferences. Because there's nothing more disheartening than to say, it's Employee Appreciation Day and then have some chunk of your workforce feel excluded. So again, after you've talked to your financial professional, potentially you might even be able to offer your employees a surprise cash bonus or a raise. Again, keeping those IRS limits in mind, making sure that you're following all the rules, not hitting your employees with an undue burden. Like I always used to get really excited about like holiday pay when I had an hourly job, and you'd say, oh yeah, time and a half, oh yeah, double time, this is great, like holiday pay or overtime, and then the taxes kind of made it not worth it. So just make sure if you're doing anything that has an actual definitive cash value, like a cash bonus or a raise or a gift card, making sure that you're keeping everything nice and simple for your employees so they can feel appreciated and like they haven't just received any kind of hardship or burden. Something that I personally love, maybe a little unorthodox, not everybody loves this, but I don't think you can really underestimate the value of a good pen. Like, it's such a bummer when you get to a workplace and they buy, cheap Bic pens that some of them work, some of them don't, and not even necessarily Bics. Like for a nice rollerball pen, that's a totally decent option. Usually they work. Love a black and blue moment, but I think I'm using Pilot. Let's grab one here. Pilot G2 rollerball, refillable, what have you. I love the medium point and blue. I'm a big blue ink kind of gal for my day-to-day. I love the solid colors. I love the fancy colors. I love like a hot pink, a purple, a maroon, a green. It's just kind of fun to have nice new pens, and those pens are not cheap. So, that could be a nice Employee Appreciation Day kind of gift, is like a little cup for your desk with some nice supplies in it. I love a fancy Post-it note. They've been making some lately that have, I forget exactly what they're called, but they're like Post-it Note Extreme, and they have extra sticky backing on them. Those are really fun. Just, ask people, just say, hey, how are the office supplies that we're dealing here? Is there anything that you feel like you're missing? Is there anything that you feel we could be buying slightly nicer on? Because, even if you buy like cheaper office supplies to start with, I know everybody's got a budget, no judgment. Everybody's got to start somewhere. But, you buy the cheaper pens and they don't last as long, or they get lost, or they break, or sometimes they just plain old don't work. If you invest a little bit more money, especially on something like Employee Appreciation Day, that's a great excuse to kind of upgrade some of the stuff that you have around the office and make everybody feel happy if office supplies are something that they're into. Something that I've done that has gone over surprisingly well is certificates of appreciation. And the way that I did this, again, this was over 10 years ago. So technology has changed quite a bit since then. It's a lot easier to collect information. I used to have the department heads all give me like 2 sentences about all of their employees. So like the accounting department, the janitorial department, the recruiting department. I worked at a company that was like a recruiting staffing firm. What are the different departments inside of the company? Each department head, if you could give me just, 1, 2, maybe even 3 sentences if you're feeling fancy, because I don't personally always know everybody, and neither does the executive that I'm supporting. So getting just a little blurb about each person, like what are their strengths? What do they like? What really cool thing did they do lately in the office? And then I typed up a little certificate, just chose a template. You can pop right into Word. I'm sure there's any number of sites available online where you can pull a certificate template. And I would put, Employee Appreciation Day 2024 in recognition of Jess Lindgren. Here's the awesome thing that you did lately, Jess. We really appreciate you. We love having you as part of the team. Looking forward to another successful year. And then I would have each of my executives sign them. So the executive of the company, like the CEO, would sign them, and the department head would sign them. And I stayed late the day before. So it happens on a Friday. I would stay late on Thursday, or like leave at the regular time and then come back late. And I'm talking like 10 p.m., like 9 or 10 p.m. when everybody's gone for the day, when, nobody else is going to see me. I would either stay late or come back and put out the certificates with a treat, with the office supplies, with a gift card, whatever it was that we chose to do that year, and put it on their desks. And people would come in, because like some people come in 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I will tell you what I am doing at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and it is not being at the office. It is absolutely either asleep or getting my cat to leave me alone so I can go back to sleep and she can get fed at 8:30 like a normal cat, or at least like our normal cat, because come on, leave me alone, kitty. But anyway, so then that would be a really fun surprise, and then everybody would come in and have like one year we did cake pops on everybody's desk, and the little certificate, and breakfast or lunch, or like an afternoon snack kind of thing. So everybody being able to come in and have that surprise first thing in the morning is really cool. And I, throughout the course of my time there, by the time the 3rd Employee Appreciation Day rolled around that we celebrated, it was really neat to go around to people's desks. Like a lot of people had them pinned up in their cubicles. If they had offices, they'd be taped to one of their walls or like on the inside of their desk. It was just really neat to see how much those little certificates meant to everybody, and for them to hang on to them. And every so often, hey, Jess, like I know that you really helped make that happen, and I really appreciate that. So even having people know that I was a part of making it happen was really cool. But whether people knew it was me or not, the really amazing part was seeing people hang on to them and put them in a place that they could see them frequently, and just, see that visible, tangible reminder of being a valued part of the company and or their department. Another thing that I think is kind of neat, my husband works at a software company, and he's not in this department anymore, but when he had been in the support department, they used to get they're like little pewter statuettes almost. They kind of even almost look like chess pieces. They're about the size of a chess piece, but then they've got like a little company designed logo thing on it. And I didn't see these until we moved to New York oh my God, no, this is year 3. I didn't see them until we moved to New York in 2021, that those were a thing that he had in his office, and he had moved them from working on site at his office in Minnesota to working remotely in California, all the way to New York. Like, he's just got probably 15 or 20 of them. And he used to get one for little milestones, like every 100 tickets that he closed or whatever, he'd get another little statuette. And I just thought that was so neat that he's got this little collection, and that they've moved, they mean so much to him that they've moved from state to state, from office to office. He's even had a few offices here in our home in New York, and each time they get a little place where he can see them every day. And a few years ago, he hit 15 years with his company, and they gave him a nice plaque for that. And the plaque sits surrounded by all of his little chess piece guys. And I just think that's so cool. Sometimes a plaque can feel a little cheesy, but again, going back to that de minimis fringe benefit, the IRS really wants to make sure that companies are paying their employees. So like money that you get should be part of your salary, should be part of your benefits, should be reported and taxed. So that's where it gets a little murky in terms of what employers can and can't do when it comes to bonus activities or fringe benefits. And that is where you get the booming commemorative plaque and or statuette industry. So even though, I think they can be a little cheesy from time to time, it is something that is much easier for a company to have created to commemorate any kind of milestone. And again, it's just really neat to see my husband, really enjoy and keep his eyes on those little tokens from his employer. I think that's so cool. So Maria, I hope that helps answer your question. Employee Appreciation Day, I think it's great. I think it's something that, it is great to have a specific day that honors all employees in your organization. Oh, and touching on the remote employees of it all, because you're not necessarily, even your in-house people, I'm sure you've got some that are hybrid that aren't necessarily in the office every day, and you don't want to leave like an edible arrangement or a fruit basket on their desk over the weekend if they don't happen to come in on a Friday. Gift cards can be a great option. There are definitely things in terms of like ordering meals has gotten a lot easier if you have or can set up a corporate, either like DoorDash. I don't actually know what the other meal delivery service apps are these days, but a lot of those delivery meal service apps, whatever they might be, they've gotten a lot easier over the years. Like, it used to be something where you'd have to like share a login, or you'd have to collect orders from people, and then someone like me, office manager, executive assistant, whomever, would have to manually input all of those orders. And it is something where you can just invite people to your corporate account and say, okay, you have a budget of X number of dollars. Or the way that I've seen other companies do it is they just say, hey, you have a budget of $25 today. Make sure you go out and get yourself a coffee or a lunch or a little afternoon snack, whatever that $25 amounts to. Make sure that you keep the receipt, put it into your payroll software for expensing, and it will be approved. So that's a great way to get your remote employees. If you're going to do something like a plaque, a little statuette, a little certificate, really consider taking the time to print it and mail it. So if you are going to do something like that, the certificates and the plaques and statuettes might be a little bit tough to do a 2-week turnaround since it is coming up. But something like a certificate, if you know you have remote employees, work with somebody in your HR department to make sure that any address information is being shared appropriately. You don't want to just like dive in and assume it's fine to take somebody's home or mailing address without their permission. Maybe even get everyone's consent before you just say, hey, Jess, hey, employee, hey, Maria, we have a little something we'd like to send your way. Do you feel comfortable sharing an address? And if yes, great. And you can take it, print out the little mailing label, send it off. If they're not comfortable, which is totally fine, just email them the PDF and just say, on the day. Then you don't have to do that in advance. But if you are going to physically mail something, definitely get a jump on your remote employees first. And that's it for this week. I really hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, I would love to hear them. askanassistant.com. You may submit a written question. You may, if you're feeling fancy, submit a voice question, and then I can edit that right into the podcast. Until then, hope you have a great week, and we'll see you again next Monday. Take care.